All right, folks, so we took a look at the Mora number 2. We can see it performs extremely well out in the field with slicing and carving tasks. Now we'll move over to the Mora number 1, which is a smaller brother to the Mora number 2. We have an even thinner profile, smaller blade, smaller handle, lighter in weight. So we're going to end up pushing less steel into the material at hand. Therefore, it's going to perform even better. So without further ado, let's get into the video right now. All right, folks, so the first trap we're gonna set up is the Hopi bird snare, as mentioned in part 1. The Hopi bird snare is one of those traps that have been used for hundreds of years by past people. It's been proven to be effective, and out here in the surrounding area, we have a lot of quail. So the quail like to hang around some of these scrub oaks. They go under the pines like the one you see behind me, and then they also like to go around the water pockets, which is a given. So a little bit of knowledge about the animals you're trying to lure in can really help you out tremendously with trapping. So we just have a piece of hemp here, and the first thing I want to do is make a good amount of reverse wrap 2-ply cord, and we'll use the thigh roll technique. So I'll go ahead and get this wound up, and we'll be right back with you. So what I'm doing right now is just notching out a point for each snare to tie onto. Just gives it a bit more security. So we'll have anywhere from 14 to 18 snare loops on this piece of willow. And then we'll have our main tie off towards the end here, and I'll cut that a bit deeper. The more snares you have on this stick, the better. So what'll happen is we'll have our main tie off here. This will trail off onto a heavy stone, a log, or a tree limb, the trunk of a tree, and that just gives it more security so the animal can't pull away and drag this piece of stick with it. You can see how that turned out. We have a nice 2-ply. I can end up shortening that a bit if I need to. And back to the knife, you know, a thin knife again just makes this task that much easier. I can spread these out too. So we just trace around it with our tool, like that. Then we'll remove that outer material. We'll start grooving in a bit. Really, the key to this trap is having multiple snares. You get these quail that like to peck around, and your goal is to get one caught, or a couple of them caught in the loops. So the more loops you have, the better your chances are. So we have our trap made. We have 16 grooves total. The important thing with this trap, once again, is to stagger your loops. You don't want them all the same length. You want some short, some long, even shorter. So again, just stagger them around. When quail feed, they feed in numbers and they peck all around the place. So you don't want them to be directly in line. It'll increase your chances of securing meat. What I want to show you how to tie is a slip knot, and then I also want to show you the knot that I use to lash this on our stick here. So what I do is I take the tag end, I feed it around the string, I grab that tag again, feed it around the loop, and then I created a second loop on the bottom here. You can see that. I'll take that tag end, I'll slip it inside that second loop from the top, and I'll pull tight. There's our slip knot. You can see the string adjust with it. So once it's pulled tight, just like that. Lashing it onto our stick, I'll start off with a clove hitch. So that basic X pattern. Get a little bit more material here. Once I have that X made, I'll feed that tag end underneath it. And we'll pull tight. So from here, I'll just kind of adjust it and then create a square knot up top. And that'll really cinch this snare down nice and secure. So we have 2 loops. I'll go ahead and make the rest, and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, so here's our Hopi bird snare. You can see we have each loop, and they're all tied off in these grooves. All we need to do now is set it up, and this thing will be complete. All right, so here's our trap set up. Again, we have all of our loops. They're spread apart, and then it's lashed onto that tree, so this trap isn't going anywhere. We have this baited, or again, around animal signs and activity. The bird gets caught in, and it starts to pull. The snare starts tightening up, and you can see what happens. It cinches down. And again, that animal can pull on it, and that's not going anywhere. It just keeps getting tighter. There we have it, the Hopi bird snare. So a little tip and trick with this trap is to prop each snare up on a stick. So you can see we have the loops setting above the ground, and then some of them are even higher up, some of the ones that are closer into the stick. And this is really learning from trial and error. I've had quail and even smaller birds come in, and they'll take all the seed, and I'll have all of my snare loops just tangled amongst each other. So when you prop these up, they have a greater chance of hooking their foot into the snare and then pulling tight.